Vilna is a beautiful old city. My grandfather did his high school here, and it had been the center of Jewish learning for centuries before that. First, the tourist spiel. The cathedral square with the bell tower, Gadamis' fort. He is the guy who founded Vilnius 800 years ago. When the Baltic states, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania were protesting their freedom against the Soviet Union in 1989, 2 million people joined their hands to form a human chain. Yes, 2 million people holding hands spanning over 400 miles. And that chain started on this spot, the magical stone.
3 times.
Thinking about Max?
Is that once?
That's one.
Yeah.
Fall over, the wish doesn't come true.
Twice?
No, that's 2 and 2. That's 1.5. That's twice.
No discounts.
Now your dreams
Will come
come true.
Wow.
The magic tile is so popular, much more popular than any other place on this cathedral square. It was changed for 3 times in 10 years.
So today's Jewish Vilnius was not just sightseeing, which at one level it was an opportunity to see a city as our parents would have seen it, in that Vilnius is not a sort of a bombed city like Warsaw, where whatever you're going to see after the war has been reconstructed. This is actually what they would have seen.
The Schmattes.
Wow.
Yeah, the name, handling.
Oh, keep it up there, Carl.
Damenkleider. Damenkleider.
Kinder.
We're in the large ghetto of Vilna, where they kept the Jews during the Second World War, and these were the rooms and the houses where they were cramped together, a few families in a room, and it hasn't really been repaired. You can see a fire was here, and this hasn't changed in the last 70, 80 years. Yeah, so we're taking a step back in history.
3, 4 families in like tiny little studios, little apartments. I cannot imagine the incredible suffering that people went through. I feel it. I feel it with such a heaviness, it's just something else.
This courtyard has been a source of anxiety for 150 years, from 1882. The guys living in it. We need it.
Little spoken about, but Jews couldn't survive in the ghettos without sparkles of fun. One chessboard for the whole community. And that was their fun.
The Jew is on an inhabitant island and is praying the God to send him to synagogues. And the God is asking, why do you need 2 synagogues if you are the only person on the island? And the answer is, one synagogue I usually attend for Shabbat, and the second I never step in. And that is why here we had the same story. We had the same story. Jews, each small Jewish community had their own synagogue. There was Taylor Synagogue, Butcher Synagogue, Water Carriers Synagogue, there was Synagogue of Teachers, the Synagogue of Painters, and so on and so on and so on.
Until Hitler, Vilna was known as the Jerusalem of the North. But in June 1941, the Germans set up 2 ghettos in the old town for the Jewish population. And over the next 2 years, about 95% of the 265,000-strong Jewish population of Lithuania was murdered by the German units and Lithuanian Nazi collaborators. Dolhinov isn't a part of the world that has been occupied by Poland, Russia, Lithuania, the Soviet Union, and now, you guessed it, Belarus. Minsk has none of the warmth of Vilna, but it's very clean. You can only visit Belarus by invitation, and the currency is, well, astronomical.
Yes. And so, Mom, I wanted to buy this for you, this canopy thing here. Have a look. But I'm afraid it costs $5,293,600.
So are you going to buy it or not?
Yeah, totally.
200,000 ruble. I'm nearly 300,000 smackers.
522,500 ruble. That is a meal for a millionaire, that's what I think.
Along the way to Dolhinov, we paused for a quick look at the Stalin Line that was built after the First World War, all the way from near Finland to the Black Sea. It took decades to complete, and all for nothing. It never was used. The Germans just bypassed it through some gaps and snuck in their major offensive, heading straight for Moscow. And that was 1941, so after all the effort, the Stalin Line has seen no action. But that's okay. I'm sure every Belarusian kid needs to pass a test on this.
I'm feeling so unbelievably relieved that I don't have children that have to deal with the agony of conscription to the arse. Whatever we have going down in South Africa, we don't have that anymore.
Hello. It's like my life normal. It's normal. I mean, isn't this what life is?
Aren't you totally caged? Yes.
Where's the key?
They come from him and me, and brothers, can't you see? This is not the way to put an end to war. We've come to Velika, which is where Dad was held as a prisoner for one night only. So it's not a huge thing, but for him it was a huge thing.
He was 15.
The whole family. And he was 15 years old because he was accused of being Janek, who was a communist, and Janek took his name. Anyway, he was put away in the prison here for the night before he was taken over afterwards to Vilna, to the prison there. But right next to where he was being held is this house, which doesn't have a front door, which is super weird. But what it does have is, as its foundation, gravestones, Jewish gravestones from a Jewish cemetery. Check this out. See over there? This says Daniel Yoshav, and then rest in peace.
I've always grown up knowing the name Dolhinov. It's not as if it's a construct and I came across it late and it means nothing. I'd always known about it. A lot of the stories I've told Maxine, or Maxine and I have shared, have been slightly risque stories set in Dolhinov. So it's always been in my mind. It's never been distant. But I did think about the three Price children and what they would have said had they been there. And that to me was kind of the hero of the day.
So we're looking for the home of Alan and Anne and Leah. They had one of the only brick houses on the town square with the doors facing the square because they had a pharmacy, a drugstore, and so they had one door for their store and one door for the entrance to the house. So we wanted to try to see whether we can find this house. Let's go.
After so many years of talking about it and planning it and hearing about it, we finally arrived in the little shtetl of Dolhinov. And I think that is the Price family home. I think that there was a pharmacy. I think that was definitely it. I bet there's a mezuzah on the door. And I'd be very interested to see if in the background there's a well. And it would be wonderful to think that was the home where Dad grew up.
The pharmacy was no more. Not that one, nor that, not that one either. We needed help.
Africa. Тоже Africa?
America.
America. You are Africa?
Yes.
Ah, you are. Израиль, да.
Father from Vilhino.
I have already started asking him question about the pharmacy, and he said that there used to be a pharmacy, but now it doesn't exist because they built a post office there.
Фамилия не помню.
He doesn't remember. Unfortunately, he doesn't remember names. But he remembers that this pharmacy was owned by a Jewish.
Where was the pharmacy? Can you point it to us?
А можете нас туда провести? Это далеко?
Не, вот машины стоят на
It's not far from here, so if you want to walk there.
Stanislav's memory is all we can go by. According to him, this is where it was.
Seems like we finally found the location of our family home. Of course, now it's a post office. It was taken down and the post office was put up. And this was where the pharmacy was, and apparently that's where the house was. Neither of which still exist.
There is something very unsatisfying about finding another building erected on the site of Grandpa Allen's childhood home. If that really was the location, we still cannot be sure. But this is for sure the remains of the town synagogue, where a carpenter has set up his workshop. There were once 5,000 Jews living and meeting here, so this used to be a happening place.
Nice work. This carpentry thing.
Yeah. The Jews didn't have farms, so they used to borrow a little piece of land to plant the potatoes to grow, and in return they would give them the manure from their cow in the back to fertilize the ground. So here is part of our family's potato crop. This is right behind me. Here is the river where they used to swim in the summer, where we are now in the summer. They used to swim here, the men and the women separately, but normally completely naked. Very surprising. Come on, La, we're going further. Let's go. Let's go.
The highlight was having lunch at the river, because somehow I just felt this was the place where Dad and his sisters used to come and swim. He told us about the river, he told us about the swimming space, and you could just feel that it was a couple of 100 meters from where they lived, and this was what they would have done. They would have walked down this lane, down the track past the farmhouses to swim in the river. In my mind's eye, shtetls are all in black and white because the photographs are in black and white. They're grey, and you have a sense of depressed and winter and cold. And being here in summer and in glorious weather and in a good, Debbie used the word bucolic earlier. So it gave me a sense of a different life.
Yeah.
Nastarovia. 13 years after the death of my dad, he's bringing us together in a way which is so unexpected.
Yeah.
A place he'd never wanted to return to.
No.
And here we are.
We're going to the Jewish cemetery. There were 3. This is the one, I think it's the largest. And this is the one that's been maintained by the girls, the kids in this local school, who get sent money especially to maintain it. Doesn't look terribly well maintained, I've got to say.
Nathan,
Already?
That's your great-grandfather.
It's amazing, that's just like on the first try. Natan Chefetz.
Natan Chefetz. Natan Ben David. 1936. That's it.
That is amazing.
1959.
Just as they left, he came back to die.
Nathan was really the father figure for all his grandchildren. My great-granddad was often away in South Africa trying to make a living, while here in the old country, Grandpa Nathan took care of the pharmacy and even shared his room with the children, including my granddad. When the time came to leave, he was not well and he could not travel.
I think Nathan couldn't join in because he had health issues. I don't know what they were, whether it was heart or asthma or something, but he couldn't handle the trip. And when they left, he died of a broken heart.
Dad had lived in that village. Everything we saw there, he had seen much more than that. But he had never been to his grandfather's grave. And we, as the second generation and third generation, came back to visit his grandfather's grave, the grave that he had never seen. And clearly this guy was a pivotal figure in Dad's life and the whole family's life.
Saba Nathan, his gravestone was the closest to the gate, and it was the most maintained one, and it's as if he was waiting for us to come here, thinking that we traveled for such a long way, and he made it easy for us to find his stone. And it's a beautiful stone. Beautiful words.
Yeah.
ושמו אחד לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה.
We're so fortunate that your family left in time to South Africa. Otherwise I wouldn't have my beautiful kids. Or you yours.
There are so many stories of the terrible atrocities of humankind in the Holocaust. So terrible that I'm speechless. Honestly, I cannot understand it.
This is the wall where people, before just as they figured out they were going to be killed, wrote their names and where they're from. And so here's Max Stern from Paris. And over here we have Max Stern.
Svetlana played this song in the Panerais forest just outside Vilna, where 100,000 people were shot in these terrible pits. The Jews were imprisoned in walled ghettos and then transported to the killing pits until there were none left. While awaiting their fate, Jews in Vilna ghetto arranged a music competition. An 11-year-old boy, Alex Volkovsky, composed this Yiddish song as a lullaby in order to confuse the Nazis. Sadly, many of the intended singers were killed before they could compete. But Alexander and this song survived and made it to Israel, where he became a classical pianist. There is always hope.
Wie die Vilje, aber Freunde, wie die Bäume grün beneite, leicht
Come mothers and fathers throughout the land, and don't criticize what you can't understand. You're something you always feel your command. Your old word is rapidly aging. Breeze it out when you can lend a hand for the times they are changing.
I have a phone. Zip it, Lord, just play.